Hey, everybody. This is Will Stuyvesant, National Director with CEO Energy. I just want to thank you on behalf of CEO for taking the time out of your busy day to be on this conference call. Stay plugged into our system. Find out what's going on with CEO. We find those that are staying plugged into these conference calls every Tuesday are making things happen. They're growing their teams. They're growing their accounts. So, again, on behalf of CEO and myself, we'd like to thank you for being on this call. In addition to that, just an announcement, National Director Nathan Matlich, who you'll be hearing from in just a few minutes, he has a conference call at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time every Monday night where it's more of a discussion call, more interactive than what we have on these corporate calls. And then myself, Will Stuyvesant, has one Tuesday nights at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, same type of format. Discussion breaks things up. So all of you that are on this call are welcome to join those conference calls. For those of you that are not aware, we do have online portal signups for commercial and residential, and we are finding that with Direct Energy, with our residential signups, that we are getting paid as fast as within 4 to 6 weeks. So if you were to submit an account today, it's possible that you could get paid next month's commission run. And we were finding a tremendous amount of success with that. You know, the question that I ask myself every single day, and I know I go over this over and over and over again, but why would somebody choose CEO? And the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that we have no investment to get involved. Everybody has to pay a power and gas bill. It's just a matter of do you want to get paid on that or not. Everybody you know and everybody you don't know is paying to have utilities in their home. And because of that, we essentially are a recession-proof business. In addition to that, the thing that I absolutely love about CEO is the fact that we have the ability to make an unlimited amount of income. We get promoted based on our efforts and our team's efforts throughout the company. And by doing so, you can make as much money as you want to make or as little as you want to make. The choice is up to you. At least with CEO versus, other sources of making money, you have a choice on how far you want to go with this company and how much money you want to make. In addition to that, I have a financial planning background, and I look at, different ways of making money. And if you're to invest $120,000 at 5%, you generate about $500 a month. We're finding people in CEO that are at the senior consultant level, which is the first promotion. If they're actively getting accounts and have a team that's getting accounts, they're easily achieving that $500 a month goal. If you're brand new to CEO, we recommend that you check out our basic training in the back office. It's a blue button right above the leaderboard. There's a 26-page PowerPoint presentation. It takes about 15 minutes to get through. That'll give you an overview of what to do to get started with CEO. And we also recommend that you get your first 5 bills out of the way, one of which can be your own. The other 4 can be from close relatives, very easy, just so you can get the experience to see how our system works, see how our services work, and to get a check next month. Another thing that we like to cover every week is our leaderboard. And those that make it on the leaderboard always have checks that follow right behind it. So without further ado, I'd like to go over that. We've got on our natural gas leaderboard, it's loading up. Sorry, guys. Okay, here we go. Sorry, guys. On our natural gas leaderboard, we have number 10, Tax Wizard LLC, number 9, John Wilson, number 8, Delilah Black, number 7, Will Stuyvesant, number 6, Mark Milstein, number 5, Lisa Cornell, number 4, Jane Grove, number 3, Libby Elliott, number 2, Dave Abney, number 1, Heidi M. On our electricity leaderboard, we have number 10, Steve Goldstein, number 9, Keith Kay, number 8, Grace Connolly, number 7, Mark Milstein, number 6, Heidi M., number 5, Stephen B., number 4, Libby Elliott, number 3, the Chamber Partnership, number 2, Jerry Towns, and number 1, Mary Maher. On our team additions leaderboard, we've got tied for number 3, Don Hart, Charles Ettinger, Lisa Cornell, Omar Chetta, Tanner Caputo. Number 2, tied for number 2, we have Mark Milstein, Bobby Hill, Terrence Brannon, Church of Many Colors, and number 1, we have Chosen Few Marketing LLC. So congratulations to all of you that have made it on the leaderboard. Again, those that are on the leaderboard are those that are getting checks. And for those of you that might not be on it, do what it takes to get on there so a check will follow. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our National Director, Nathan Matlich. He always has great things to cover. And take it away, Nate.
Hey, Will. Thanks for getting us off to a great start. As usual, I'm just going to go ahead and mute the lines here just so that we have some nice quiet lines that way so I can jump here, and then I will open it up for discussion at the end of the call. So one thing that I really wanted to talk about today is to really talk about talent. And one of the big things about talent is there's a big misconception that surrounds talent. And I've read a couple books on talent. One's called Talent is Never Enough. Another one is called Talent is Overrated. And there's this common misconception that if you are, born with natural gifts or natural talents, there's this common misconception that that individual is ultimately going to go on to achieve a very large or stratospheric amount of success because, quote unquote, they were born with XYZ talent. Maybe, from a young age they could play the piano very well. They were very good at sports. They were very good at studying, whatever it might be. And the interesting thing about talent is that after reading these books and studying, talent and how, what the most successful people have done over the years, in business and sports and otherwise, the one conclusion that I've come to, and that a lot of these books and PhD authors and whatnot have come to, is that there's almost zero correlation between a natural God-given talent and reaching a stratospheric amount of success. Whether it's in the NBA, whether you're Bill Gates or a multi-million-dollar business owner. And the interesting thing is that a lot of people think, I don't have this talent or that talent or this talent or that talent. But in fact, at the end of the day, the individuals that go on to achieve these high levels of success, the reason why they do that isn't because they are born talented, but rather because over the years they have put in. A lot of people say that it takes 10,000 hours of practice in order to be an expert at something. So, 10,000 hours to become a doctor, a lawyer, a CPA, an NBA All-Star, whatever it might be. I definitely agree with that to a point. But the individuals that go on to achieve a stratospheric amount of success actually not only put in the time, but they put in the focused practice. And I guess the biggest difference I can give between, we talked about this last night, a very large difference between, there's a difference between being on the team or being on the football team or basketball team or soccer team or whatever it is. There's a difference between that and being in the game. And so if you look at the difference between just putting in the hours and expecting to be great and putting in the hours with very focused practice on something, one example would be someone playing the piano and doing a piano lesson. If they were just playing the piano and they would just play the song all the way through, whether they made mistakes or not, that's not necessarily going to make them, a great piano player. But the individuals that go on to, be well-known recording artists, that sort of thing, when they're practicing, they have a very focused, specific practice. And every time that they make a mistake, they stop, they identify, that mistake, they learn from it, and then they start again from the very beginning and repeat that process all the way until they have mastered that piano piece. And the interesting thing is that within consumer energy options, I would say both from personal experience and also from what I've seen, someone doesn't have to be ridiculously talented or have some sort of God-given talent in order to join our company and to go out and be successful. One of my favorite kind of bumper stickers or things that you'll see on Facebook or LinkedIn or kind of on the internet is there's 10 things that require zero talent. And I'll just go ahead and read these to you. Number 1, be on time. Number 2, have a great work ethic. Number 3, put forward your maximum effort. Number 4, have good body language. Number 5, always have energy. Number 6, have a great attitude. 7, be passionate. 8, be coachable. 9, go the extra mile. And number 10, be prepared. And, the interesting thing is that, with it, whether it's in consumer energy options or any other job, outside of being a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer where it's a very, very specific task that you have to study and train for, businesses like consumer energy options, you don't have to have this God-given talent in order to be, excellent at, bringing on accounts, growing a team, being a leader, getting promoted. But, if you're on time, have a good work ethic, all these 10 things that I talked about, jump on the conference calls, on Tuesdays, jump on the conference calls Monday night and Tuesday night. There's a lot of things that it's just a matter of plugging in and staying involved and constantly wanting to focus and learn and not just show up, but rather be in the game and learn from mistakes and put yourself out there. All of those things are absolutely fundamental and key to our success at Consumer Energy Options. Before Will jumped on and before we started this conference call recording, I was just talking about with Stephen and Fred about how there's so many individuals out there. There's a lot of network marketing companies. There's a lot of business opportunities. Everyone under the sun thinks that they could either be a real estate agent or insurance salesman or financial advisor or, insert XYZ profession in here that, the top earners make an ungodly amount of money. And so there's a lot of things out there that gets us distracted of, maybe I'll try this, for 6 months, I'll try that for 6 months, and I'll try this month, this other thing for a year. And what I've learned is that whether it's consumer energy options, and obviously you wouldn't be on the call if you didn't believe in consumer energy options and looking to create a long-term residual income, but the key is just putting in the time, doing the work, showing up. And last night I was on my conference call, I was talking about and joking that when I joined Consumer Energy Options, jumped in full speed, told my wife, I said, hey Heidi, it's not a matter of if I'm going to make money, it's a matter of when. And we're going to stick with this until the money starts rolling in. And within the first 6 to 12 months that I was doing it, because I had quit my other full-time job, and luckily my wife had a job, and we had some other income coming in that allowed me to do this jump in full-time. But within the first 6 months of the year, my wife was saying, hey Nate, unless the money starts coming in, you might have to go and get a job at McDonald's, work on the nights and weekends. We got a baby on the way, could definitely use the additional money. And to this day, I'm not sure if she is, half joking or half serious or what. But long story short, I stuck with it. And now I'm making a lot more money than I ever did, working a full-time job with Consumer Energy Options and sticking with it. And what a lot of people don't realize is that all of the studies and all of history, and go talk to any small business owner, everyone will say that, hey, guess what? It took me 3 years before I was in a place to where I was making good money. My business was growing rapidly, whatever it might be. And I think that it just shows that sometimes you just have to do the work. You just have to show up. You just have to be consistent, have a good attitude, be passionate, be coachable, all those things that we talked about. And if you're willing to do that, if you're willing to be slightly underpaid for the first couple of years, my hope is that you're going to stay plugged in so that we can massively overpay you from year 3 on, or however long it might take. The thing that Will and I and Tom, Fred, Matt, everyone's so excited is that we finally have a compensation plan that, even though it took me at least 3 years to get to the point where I was making good money and could support my family, and my wife started getting excited because now the money was coming in. We'd go on, a bunch of vacations throughout the year instead of taking, 1 or 2 weeks of vacation, working the full-time job. Now we're taking 4 weeks or 6 weeks or, whatever it might be. We're able to go and travel and see all of our family. And, I just bring the laptop and phone along. And it's, it doesn't really matter where I am. I can work from anywhere in the U.S. And so, the nice thing is with the new compensation plan, someone could come in as CEO and within the first year, they could go on to, reach national director, make far more money than Will and I ever did in the first 3 years of our business, because we're always waiting on all the residual incomes. That takes, 4 to 6 months to start paying out. And so, I guess one of my main takeaways is, talent is overrated. Talent is never enough. Call it what you will, but there's certain things that anyone would be able to do that by coming and joining Consumer Energy Options, getting plugged in, and achieve just a tremendous amount of success. And so, with that, I kind of want to parlay or go into the next section or topic of what I wanted to cover today. We covered this a little bit last night, and step number 1 is get involved with Consumer Energy Options. Step number 2 is getting plugged in, learning, doing some of these things that I talked about, the 10 things that don't require any talent. Show up, have a good attitude, be coachable, be prepared, grab your pen and paper when you're on these conference calls, take notes. But once you get past that, one of the books that I read is called How to Become a Rainmaker. And, I'll just go ahead and read this passage out of this book here on what a rainmaker is. American Indian tradition exalts the rainmaker. The rainmaker used magical powers to bring the rain to nourish the crops, to feed the people. Without the rain, the people would weaken, die, or have to move elsewhere. Today, a rainmaker is a person who brings revenue into an organization, be it for profit or non-for-profit. And so the reason why I wanted to talk about how to become a rainmaker is step number 1 is show up, get involved, get plugged in. Step number 2 with Consumer Energy Options is, hey, now we got to get each and every one of you to become your own personal rainmaker, and to also cultivate a team and grow a team of many additional rainmakers, so that you can all, basically grow your crops so you can eat, so you don't have to, go somewhere else, or so that you can eventually quit your full-time job, do this full-time, be what it may. But in the book, there's a couple key points. Some of them, are kind of different from what I talked about last night. But just want to share a couple keys of how, just little things that you can do every day, every week, just to build your team, bring on more accounts, or to provide value to your customers. Step number 1, you really need to answer the question, why should a customer do business with us? And, the first thing you have to do is you have to sell yourself on the value that we're bringing to the marketplace and the benefits that we're providing our customers, because until you are sold on what we have to offer people, whether it be saving money on their energy costs, or whether it be, allowing someone to, join Consumer Energy Options part-time, make an extra $500 a month so that they can pay for their car payment or mortgage payment or whatever it is. Step number 1 is, first you have to have the belief. First you have to sell yourself. First you have to identify why a customer would do business with us. And then and only then are you able to go and effectively communicate the value that we are bringing these customers. maybe it's a lower rate. Maybe it's a Nest thermostat, a $250 Nest thermostat at zero additional cost that they're going to get in 4 to 6 weeks in the mail, and it's going to be like this present that they get that they've ultimately paid nothing for. And we've just been getting a tremendous amount of feedback on our customers just loving that. So identify, the value that you really bring to your customers. Second, customers don't care what you know until they know how much you care. And so one thing we were talking about a little bit last night is there's a lot of individuals that just are deathly afraid of picking up the phone and calling someone and talking to them about consumer energy options, either to ask them to become a part of our business or to get them signed up as a customer. There's a lot of individuals that are deathly afraid of cold calls and in person or on the phone. And so I guess the biggest thing is that as soon as we shift our mindset from, hey, the reason why I'm calling this individual is because I want to sell them something, and the reason why I'm calling this individual is because I want to make a bunch of money. As soon as you kind of flip your mindset from that to, the reason why I'm calling Bill is because I want to catch up with him. I want to be a good friend. I want to see if I can provide value in getting him a cheaper energy rate or get him a Nest thermostat at no cost to him. And as soon as we're able to change that mindset, all of a sudden we're able to very easily pick up the phone or knock on the door, because when we're approaching those customers, we're showing them that we care about them, that the reason why we're here is to help them. And ultimately, if I did not pick up the phone and call Bill, or if I did not stop by Bill's office, I feel like I would be doing him a disservice, because history has shown that we have phenomenal energy rates, and that we're providing a lot of value to people by getting them one of those Nest thermostats, and also providing a lot of value to giving someone the opportunity of having a secondary business or a business on the side, or a way to make some additional money with consumer energy options. And so when you get in that mindset, all of a sudden it's very easy to talk to people, because when you pick up the phone, it's more of a, hey, just want to give you a call and see how I can help you out, not, hey, this is Nate. Bill, I want to sell you something. Hopefully you'll pay me money for something that you might or might not need. And so I just really encourage everyone to, make that transition in the mindset. The next thing is, rainmakers turn customer objections into customer objectives. And there's a lot of people who are really, really afraid, or the one part of any given meeting or any interaction when they're talking about consumer energy options, whether it's bringing them on as a customer or bringing them onto your team as a team member, is that we tend to hate objections, or we kind of cringe. We know that at some point in the conversation there's going to be an objective that comes around, and if you can flip your mindset to saying, hey, I crave my customer giving me all of their objections, because guess what? What he's doing is my customer is making a list. And so, if the customer has an objection of, we've already signed up with someone to do that, or someone that says, I don't know if I have enough time to do consumer energy options on the side. Well, guess what? Those are two great objectives to where you immediately know the reasons why a customer is thinking that he might not do this. Ultimately, it gives you the opportunity to have a discussion and provide additional information as to the success stories that we've had of, when someone's been with another supplier, how we've still been able to save them money, or an example of someone who's been doing this part-time and making some really good money, even though they have a full-time 9-to-5 job. And guess what? It's probably the only reason why this individual is even going to be able to retire at the age of 65. And so when you flip the mindset from, I hate objections to I crave objections, because if I can get those objections and talk about them, then ultimately I can help my customer find value and see value in what I'm providing them, and ultimately either help them make some money on the side or reduce their energy costs. One of my favorite sales trainers is Grant Cardone, written a couple books. I've listened to his audio books. And a couple of things that he always says is any time that someone brings an objection to you, one thing he says is he just says, hey, you know what? Agree with that person. They just want to know that you've heard them out, and that you agree that what they're saying is a legitimate comment in the context of your conversation. And so, if someone asks me a question, it's kind of like an objection, or kind of putting me, kind of on the defensive a little bit. One thing that I always say is I tell them, hey, that's a great question. I don't know the answer right now, but give me 24 hours, I'll get it, and I'm going to come back and bring this answer to you, because if I was in your shoes, I would be asking those exact same questions. And so by agreeing with your customer, letting them know that's a great question, or, hey, I hear you, or, you know what, if I was in your shoes, I would be asking the exact same thing. All of those sorts of things allow you to turn these objections into opportunities to effectively communicate, get them a little more information about consumer energy options, whatever it might be. And, that's definitely helped me out a lot over the years. A couple other pointers from the book, How to Become a Rainmaker by Jeffrey Fox. Always return every call every day. It's something that's, it doesn't require God-given talent like the other 10 things we talked about earlier. But it's just amazing how when you return every single call every day, there's a lot of individuals who've been used to working with big companies. It takes them a day or two or three or four to get back to them. When you call them right back, they say, oh, wow, Nathan, thanks so much for calling me back today. I didn't expect a call back for, a day or two, so I really appreciate that. Just another way to build value. Contrary to popular belief, don't be afraid to sell on Friday afternoons. Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. People think that, the best time to get out there and talk about consumer energy options is, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, that sort of thing. Take Friday afternoon off, go enjoy it, hang out with the kids. But guess what? If you're working with a small business owner, for example, they're busy. Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, they are so ridiculously busy Monday through Friday at those times that guess what? If you call them between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m., they're probably going to be most likely to be in the office, be by themselves, and actually have a little time to talk to you. 4 p.m. to 6 p.m., that's when, all the employees are winding down. Usually there's no meetings. Oftentimes some of these small business owners are still sticking around their businesses to finish up some work. They're the only ones. Guess what? If you call them between 4 and 6 p.m., they're probably going to be much more likely to pick up the phone and talk to you. And the interesting thing, Tim Ferriss, I don't know if anyone's read any of his books or follows him at all, but just a very successful venture capitalist, New York Times best-selling author. But he talked about how when he used to do copier sales way back in the day before he created his own mega brand, he would only work from about 7 a.m. till about 9 or 10 a.m. He'd take the whole day off, and then he'd work from about 3 or 4 p.m. till about 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. And he was the number one sales guy in his office, the number one business development guy in his office. And despite that, he had a little bit of a bad attitude, so they kind of sent him on his way. But it's just amazing to think that someone, by figuring out the times in which they can connect with the most customers or be the most productive, he was able to work smarter, not necessarily harder that way. So those are a couple pointers there. The last thing I'm going to talk about, which is just a short book that I also enjoyed reading called Do the Work by Steven Pressfield. Just a great little short read. Is that it's kind of the kick in the pants that gets you up and gets you going and wanting to work a little harder to accomplish your goals. And it ultimately goes along with just the idea of, if you don't need to be, you don't need to have natural God-given talent, but you do need to do the work. And so in this book, he talks about, what are the enemies? What are the forces that are working against us as entrepreneurs, as small business owners, as consumer energy options consultants? And the three things that he talks about are resistance, whether it's fear, self-doubt, procrastination, addiction, distraction, if you're timid, too much ego or narcissism, self-loathing, or if you're a perfectionist. That's an enemy. Number one is the resistance. Enemy number two is rational thought. And number three, despite what some people will tell you, sometimes our friends or family can be part of the problem instead of part of the solution. And I don't say that to be mean. And I have just amazing friends and amazing family. But the interesting thing about consumer energy options is I even have my own personal story where when I first started, I told my brother and I told my dad. I said, hey, I'm gonna, I just finished my MBA. I'm gonna, quit my full-time job and I'm gonna do consumer energy options full-time. And at that time, it was this new concept, and I was living in Chicago where deregulation was prevalent. And they lived in Montana where deregulation wasn't, even on the map, 5 years ago. And I told them, and I said, hey, I'm gonna do this because I'm obsessed with residual income, and I like building businesses, and I like the infrastructure and how I can build a team so that we can kind of share in each other's success, and I'm going to build a big energy business out of it. And both my dad and my brother were, they tried to talk me out of it, and because I had my eyes set on it, I was focused, I was committed, and I didn't let it hold me back. Jumped in, 5 years later, best thing that ever happened to me. But the funny thing is that now to this date, my dad and my brother are saying, hey, Nate, that consumer energy options business, that sounds like a phenomenal business. We're glad we can see it all the family events. Sounds like you're doing great. Maybe you should go talk to your cousin here or my friend in this city and see if they can get involved with CEO. I think they'd be really good at it. And so bottom line is there's always going to be resistance. There's always going to be friends and family members that, that say, oh, I don't know if it'll work. I don't know if you should get involved. And so, the fact of the matter is perseverance, showing up and getting plugged into these conference calls are hopefully going to be how you go on to reach some of your goals there. So with that, I'm going to open up the lines and I'm going to unmute it, and everyone is more than happy to chime in, ask questions, that sort of thing. So give me a second. All right. The lines are unmuted. Does anyone have any questions, comments, things that they're seeing out there?
Hey, Nate, it's Will. I just wanted to, what a great call and a lot of great information that we can use. One of the things that we're finding in Michigan, and one of the things as far as what's been happening with our team are a couple of things. One, the value that we talk about that we bring to our clients are two things. One, we have an opportunity to give them a $250 learning thermostat, which we've never had before. And two, a fixed program versus variable program. And the reason why I use the word program versus rate is because every single agent that I have ever heard of that has had an issue with a rate with a customer is because they brought it up first. Typically, the client never brings that up. And I know that this Nest program is new for most people, but if you really think of it, if you had to look at the rates, the Nest program does have a higher rate than a fixed program without it. But if you take that rate and multiply it by 10%, for example, if you had a $5 Nest program, the real rate is $4.50. And if you look at Direct Energy's or most of the other fixed programs, the fixed program without the Nest is about close to probably within 10 or 20 cents. In addition to that, I mean, what we have to offer people now is an opportunity to make money in a way that they've never been able to make before. And for those of you that might have concerns about, well, what if there's a huge price discrepancy or whatever, what if there's a huge price discrepancy between our fixed rate and the public utilities variable? Well, you got to focus on the ranges. You can't focus on where they are month to month right now. And I will tell you without any type of doubt that there's no more competitive area than Consumers Energy in Michigan right now as far as what the public utility is trying to do to keep their customers. There's no state, there's no public utility that I have seen as bad as Consumers Energy right now. And our team is just closing Direct Energy deals like crazy. And why are we doing that, or how are we doing it? One, when somebody comes on, we've developed a list, and we've actually called the people on those lists. In addition to that, we call and say, hey, John, it's Will. Have you ever checked to see if you've been overcharged by the public utility? No, great. Take a picture of your bill front and back and send it to me. I'll let you know. That simple. I didn't discuss rates. I didn't use the word savings. I didn't bring up the Nest thermostat. Get a copy of the bill. Call them back. Hey, John, bad news is you're on a variable. Good news is I'm going to give you a fixed. Now, that fixed is going to be a little higher than that variable. And why is that? Because we're going to give you a $250 thermostat that at no cost to you that's going to drop your entire bill. All I need you to do is say yes, boom, done and over, ready to go. I mean, there might be a few more details, but it's that simple. I don't get into the functionality of the thermostat. If somebody says, well, how do I plug it in? I say the thing's smarter than me. Just plug it in. It's going to work on the wall. So the value that we have, guys, is that we have an opportunity to bring people into CEO that can get paid next month. What took Nate and I years to build can be done in months, literally months if you plugged in. And a question you need to ask yourself is what would a comma check from CEO do to your budget right now? What would a comma check do to your budget right now? And CEO can provide it. The way you do it, you bring agents on, you develop your own list, call people, make 2 phone calls a day where you talk to 2 people a day about CEO. What would that do to your business? You might have to make 10 calls to get 2 people on the phone. What would that do? What if you brought on agents, and every agent you brought on talked to 2 people about CEO? You bring on some agents. You get your accounts out of the way. They get their accounts in the way. If somebody stays plugged into these calls, Tuesdays, Mondays, whatever, they're talking to 2 people a day about CEO, bringing people on their team. It's just a matter of maybe I think somebody could get a comma check in their 3rd month here, frankly. Now, it might take them 6 months or it takes 9 months, but who cares? What other opportunity do you have at no cost to get involved in a recession-proof business and add value by giving away all these thermostats? If you should be going after every person you're considering as a customer for the Nest. You should be thinking about them, recruiting them first, and then get them the Nest. Because if you recruit them, they might be able to make an extra $75 to $150 depending on what state you're in, if it's dual power or not. So the value we have is the opportunity we have with CEO, and what we offer are fixed programs and Nest thermostats. 2 words I would to just obliterate out of your mind and out of your mouth is fixed rates and give me your bill because I'm going to save you money. Those 2 things, I get at rates and saving money. We have fixed programs. they're going to fix it on a range, not on some months somebody might be cheaper, some months we're going to be cheaper. We can't guarantee we're always going to save money. So if you guys really want to be successful, get in the program of keeping it simple. That's what you can offer people. Offer your clients or agents, keeping it extremely simple, get off the rates, get off saving money, and provide the value, which is Nest thermostat, fixed program over variable program. Anyway, that's my diatribe. I apologize, Nate, but that's what seems to be working with us here in Michigan and for some of these other states, keeping it real simple, getting a lift, making phone calls to people we know, staying in warm markets, not cold markets, and staying away from rate discussions and saving money discussions.
Yeah, I agree. And everything that Will talked about as far as what it takes to be successful, anyone could do it. Anyone could do it.
Yeah.
You don't have to be born with some sort of God-given talent. It's just putting in the work, picking up the phone, making the calls, and staying plugged in so you can learn how to talk about these things. Do we have any other questions or comments?
Yeah, just want to thank you guys. Good information today.
Thanks, Malcolm.
You're most welcome. All right. Well, with that, I want to thank everyone for jumping on this call today. We'll go ahead and blast this out. We recorded it, so if for some reason someone that wasn't able to get on the call, have them check their email. I also recommend that when you get these conference call recordings, Will talks about reaching out to 10 people, every day to talk about consumer energy options. Heck, you'd be able to take the conference call recording and forward it to 5 or 10 friends and just say, hey, I want you to listen to this. Let me know what you think. And that's another great way of doing that. So with that being said, yeah, well,
Nate, I just wanted to say it doesn't have to be 10 phone calls. It's whatever it takes to get to 2 people. Some days you might have to make 20 to get 2. Sometimes you might be able to call 2 people and get your 2 people out of the way. Just whatever it takes to get your little 2 phone conversations about CEO out of the way. Whatever it takes.
Yeah.
It might be 5 phone calls, 4 phone calls, 3, 10, 20, whatever it takes, just get it out of the way. Odds are it'll take you less than a half hour, maybe even 10 minutes. Who knows?
Yeah. And I think that's a great mindset to be in is, when you join Consumer Energy Options, and it doesn't even have to be for Consumer Energy Options. This could be for any aspect of your life. Sit down, write down what your goals are and make a commitment to yourself that you're going to do whatever it takes to reach those goals and then follow through. I know that at the beginning of this year, I had made some goals of, I wanted to buy a new truck and I wanted to, get my family into a new single-family home, and I wanted to, pick up a real estate investment property, and I wanted to, do some different trainings and different things with Consumer Energy Options, and I wanted to have Monday night conference calls, and I, wanted to take my family on, XYZ vacations, and at the very beginning of the year, I wrote all of these things down, and they were some pretty large goals. And the funny thing is that since I wrote them down and I focused on them every single day, every single week, and I did whatever it takes, here it is. We're halfway through the year, and I've accomplished like 90 or 95% of all the goals that I wrote down because I had the whatever it takes mentality. So, do whatever it takes, get plugged in, stay plugged in, and we're just excited that everyone was able to join us on our conference call today. Feel free to give myself, feel free to give Will a shout if you have any additional questions. Will's team conference call is tonight, Tuesday, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Same dial and phone number. So thanks for joining us. We'll see you at the top because the bottom is already full. Make it a great week.